everyone. This is Alicia, and welcome to the Edie podcast. I've been delaying actually recording because my Roomba has taken longer than I anticipated. I thought that it would have been done with cleaning the house, but it's still doing its thing. So you might hear some stuff in the background. Just know it's my Roomba and nothing else is happening here. It's July 1st, and I didn't think that I was going to be recording today, but for various reasons, I had to record. And it's actually wild that I'm recording today because, as many of you may know, I'm pretty sure by now you know that the Trump's big, beautiful bill was passed in the Senate. We are waiting to hear if the House will follow suit with that. And probably by the time you hear this, we will have more information on that. But what I wanted to talk about in this actual episode today was what this bill will look like for folks that are in a position that need assistance with like food, right? And I think a lot of people, dismiss, many things that happen when it comes to uh, how legislation is actually created and what's really in that actual legislation, like all the nooks and crannies, and really getting down to how this will either benefit or hinder the American people. And so, many of us know that this bill, despite what many of the GOP leaders are saying, including Trump, this bill will really harm everyone involved. Regardless of who you are, it's going to affect us in some way. Obviously, it'll affect those that are not as financially secure as others, but it is definitely going to affect us all in some way, shape, or form. I found an article that I thought was really interesting. Y'all know me and my articles. I love me a good article. And it's an article that was written by, oh guys, I just lost the article. Y'all give me 1 second. But as I like continue to talk about this, just I think for me one thing that is really, really hard to kind of wrap my head around is the fact that we have people that are in these positions, and I mean like these leadership positions that run our government that are truly for all the things that are in this bill. And it speaks to the fallacies. I think that might be the right word that we use here. The fallacies of who they are in terms of a person that is working for the people. I think if anything, this bill definitely exposes that. And I feel like as hard as sad as it is, this needed to be exposed. It needed to be exposed in so many ways. Just how their true colors and who they are and what their true intentions are being a government official. And so I think if anything, this bill definitely shows that, and it exposes what we're really working with in this actual government. So I found the article, y'all. The article is called Senate Republicans: Food Banks Squeezed, Big Banks Unleashed. And it's written by Julie Margetta Morgan. She's a president of the Century Foundation. It's a policy expert and seasoned leader in both the government and nonprofit sectors. She most recently held senior roles for the Biden administration at the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and the U.S. Department of Education. So this article, I was really excited to find this because, you know, on the heels of all of this, I was like, what is going to happen to those who are in a position that need assistance when it comes to food? Because not everyone is afforded the luxury to just go to the grocery store and spend whatever they can, whatever they want, and come home with the desired food that they want. Some people actually go to food banks. Some people actually require SNAP assistance. And even though they are going to a grocery store, or whatever, there's a limit to what they can purchase because of the amount of money that is afforded to them by way of the government. And so that's another thing that is going to be affected because of this bill as well. So Miss Morgan starts it out. She says, in response to Senate Republicans passing their version of the budget reconciliation bill, Julie Margetta Morgan, who I just shared with you guys, she issued the following statement. So she says, the Senate passed the reconciliation mega bill. It's one of the most economically devastating pieces of legislation in modern history, and if it becomes law, because we're still waiting on the House, families across the country will be reeling from its impacts for years to come. Instead of tackling the high costs Americans are facing every day, Republicans are rushing a bill through Congress under the cover of night that steals from programs that help most families in order to line pockets of billionaires and big corporations. Make no mistake, for the vast majority of Americans, this bill would rise prices on everything from utilities to groceries while stripping vital health care from 17 million people and forcing countless rural hospitals and nursing homes to shutter. Out of pocket premiums would more than double for millions enrolled in the ACA marketplace. So that's like what everyone was calling the Obamacare at one point. Deep cuts to food assistance would hurt up to 15 million kids, or 1 in 5 nationwide, a move that would be akin to every food bank in the country closing, and millions of low-income students would see their Pell Grant slash for borrowing from a borrowing cost spike. And as I'm like reading this and just really taking all this in, it just blew my mind that folks are this heartless and are just so concerned about lining their pockets as opposed to actually caring for their constituents and providing what is needed in the areas that they are representing. Because a lot of the Republican, officials, they service areas where, people are struggling. Many of them are. And it's really unfortunate that we are here and we are experiencing this. And for those that are in these areas that will, or in this position that will see this struggle, my heart breaks for them. And, it's almost a thing of is that, at least for me, it's one of these situations where you're wondering, were you even someone that really wanted to be about the people, or were you in this for the money from the start, right? Just something to throw out there, right? You just never know. But it's something to really consider because when you're thinking about 15 million kids that could be affected by this because of, billionaires and folks in, these positions that just want to make an extra however many dollars just to, keep themselves quote unquote secure. Meanwhile, they have all the money in the world. I'm just at a loss. I really am. I'm at a loss. And I worry about just the safety of this country in so many ways. Because when you think about when people are desperate, the side of humanity that is normally there can possibly be stripped. Because when you are desperate, you're willing to do anything to survive. And violence is something that can be harbored from this type of result when we're thinking about what this bill will do for the American people. The bill goes on and talks about, not the bill, the article goes on and talks about, that the pain doesn't stop there. At a time when families are increasingly turning to credit card debt, buy now, pay later schemes, and other costly financial products to manage the squeeze of rising costs, the bill will open the floodgates to predatory lending and destroy the only federal agency responsible for protecting consumers, giving carte blanche to companies looking to seize on Americans' pocketbook struggles. That's the dire reality of the Senate bill. It will overwhelm actual food banks to pad the profits of Fortune Fortune 500 banks. It will decimate an already weak social safety net, forcing the Americans to construct their own safety net out of risky financial instruments. And it will raise prices across the board while robbing families of their ability to pay for essentials. I don't know what else needs to happen for folks that have voted for or that support the Trump administration, especially those that are voting against their own interest. I don't know what it will take for them to realize that the majority of the things that they have been standing up for have been costing them the ability to thrive in this country. It all comes down, obviously, down to the dollar and how much, money these people can get. And it also, unfortunately, they've been folks who have been supporting this have been bamboozled by way of racism. And it's so sad. Some people believe that they're, you know, following and trusting in Trump by way of getting rid of these illegal people, this, that, and the other, but it still comes down to racism. That's basically what it boils down to. Racism is it's such an expensive thing that we have allowed to take over this country in ways that it should have never been. But here we are. Here we are. I pray that the House does not move forward with this. I pray that there's some way that this can be stopped. But in the event that it doesn't, we have to find ways to help and support each other as American people. Because at this point, if this doesn't show you that we are all we have, I don't know what will show you that. We are at the crossroads of really understanding what is really going on in this country. Well, not so much the crossroads of it, but we are at a point where we are really seeing what is going on in this country and how we move forward as a society. I pray that there's not, a civil war, but what else is going to happen at this point, right? I don't know. I hate to see that. I really hate to see something like that. And it's wild because I found another article. It was from, especially, it's written by this guy named Greg Trotter. He is focusing on Irving Park in Illinois. And he talks about how the big, beautiful bill will impact local food pantries. People are going to suffer. So the title of it is How Trump's Big, Beautiful Bill Will Impact Local Food Pantries. People are going to suffer. So it says in Illinois, 205,000 people could lose SNAP benefits, and local pantries don't have the funding to fill the gap. We are heading into what is likely to be a crisis of unimaginable proportion. Sporting a Chicago Bears jersey hat, Cody Martin, it's an actual picture of this person in the article, waiting in line for his turn to receive food at the Irving Park Community Food Pantry. As he picked up fresh produce, bread, and other groceries, he greeted volunteers with a warm and easy smile where's the thing here? That actually covered his recent struggles. I pray to my Almighty God who said, in this life there will be trials and tribulations, said Martin 54, when asked what keeps him positive. And this is it. And I have to go through it. So in January, Martin was laid off from his job as a nonprofit case manager. He's actually looking for work, but for now he relies on the food pantry at 4256 North Ridgeway Avenue and Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is SNAP, benefits for food. He could soon face additional hardship under the significant cuts to SNAP being considered in Congress as part of President Trump's big, beautiful bill. People ages 55 to 64 would be subject to a work requirement to receive SNAP benefits, an expansion of existing work requirements that could affect more than 200,000 people living in Illinois. That's just one component of 287 billion in proposed cuts over a 10-year period to SNAP, the largest anti-hunger program in the US, in the budget reconciliation bill passed by the House earlier this month. And the article, goes on to talk about more things, but it says there is suspicion that the emergency food system can step in, Mayor said. That is incorrect. These cuts mean that people will not have Food. This food that we see in food pantries and food banks across this country are for survival. The article talks about that as well. The church that I grew up in Evansville, Indiana, Metropolitan Seventh Adventist Church, has a food bank, and it's named actually after my mother, or in honor of my mother, I should say. And my mother, that was one thing that she loved to do, was give back to the community, serve the community, and you know, give as much as we could, because in her eyes, we were so fortunate, and we're very fortunate people, have been blessed with so many things, and the give back is the least that we could do. And so by way of our church, she, along with some other people, started the initiative to give out food from the church that I grew up in. I can't imagine the food bank that's at my home church, or the church I grew up in, to be bombarded in the ways that could be, in the event that this is passed. The people that come there, to the food bank, especially in my hometown, are so grateful and so kind and appreciative. And they tell you their stories and their situations, and your heart breaks, because it's like, wow, one wrong turn, and you know, or just one thing that caused them to be in a certain situation, or they've just been in generational poverty, or whatever the situation is, and they seek out places like the food bank back home, or even this food bank that I'm talking about, or pantry here in Illinois. People need this for survival. I think that's what's being missed in so many ways. People are trying to survive, just trying to make it each and every day. And the cutoff of something like this is, it's just unfathomable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. This article goes on to say, someone had mentioned here, well, Martin, again, the man that they were talking about in the actual article at the beginning, says behind him in line at the pantry. Oh, I'm sorry. It was a woman named Sharon Diaz. Excuse me, guys. I'm just so flustered and upset about this. So excuse me. But behind him in line at the Irving food pantry, Sharon Diaz, a 47-year-old single mother on disability, said she received $234 a month in SNAP benefits for her 15-month-old son. Like millions of other Americans, she struggled to make ends meet with her rising costs. We don't want to receive SNAP, she said, but it's for survival. In Illinois, there are about 1 million people who receive SNAP benefits, including more than 891,000 Cook County residents, according to state data from May of 2025. The average monthly benefit per person is $191. Factors such as income and household size are calculated in the determination. Think about that, y'all. $91 a month. I spend that a lot of times a week in the grocery store. How are people surviving? How are people surviving? This needs to be headline news, in my opinion. People need to know that beyond this whole bill, $191, how can you survive on that? And then for this potentially to be completely taken away or cut in a major way, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. The article goes on to say just about every person who comes in here talking about uh, the food pantry is scared. More than half of the people who visit the pantry are over 55, and most receive SNAP benefits. But few of them would be able to work if required, because they lack the skills for jobs available. She said Gillespie is worried about the shifting of the burden to states and food banks. So there is no way that the food pantry can sustain all these cuts that are going to happen. So we're praying and watching and listening. We're hearing from new clients every day, and without increased support, we may not be able to meet the growing need. At the Pilsen Food Pantry, which distributes about 33,000 pounds of food to about 600 households each week, that would be hard to do, said Evelyn Figueroa, the pantry's founder and director. The Figueroa's larger concern is for the longer term health and medical bills of the families they serve. SNAP helps people access healthier food, which prevents chronic health conditions such as diabetes, heart disease, said Figueroa, who was also a family medicine physician. People are going to suffer, and these families have children, she said. Not all costs are financial. Human suffering is a cost. We don't know yet what the impact will be, but we're very anxious about what this next chapter will bring. We would really appreciate the community support as we navigate this together. I kind of skipped around in the article, but that last sentence, we would really appreciate the community support as we navigate through this together. And I think at this point, that's what's going to be the thing that saves us all is us coming together as a community to support one another. If there is not a time to realize that these folks in office aren't really for us, now is the time. We have to support one another. We are all we have. I know this podcast episode was kind of like all over the place, and excuse me, but I am just so upset and I'm so concerned for people out here. And it's just wild to me that this is where we are right now in this country. But at the same time, I'm not shocked because we have seen a lot of this coming. It's been a long time coming. And as I said before, this may be the wake up call for some people who have been supporting this administration to the death. I don't wish anything ill or bad or terrible on anyone, but this is clearly a shakeup for this country to realize that these folks that are in office, many of them need to be removed, and we need some new blood, some folks that are actually coming in to work and care for us and support us. We pay for their actual salaries. It is our money. It is our money. I can't stress that enough. And so, because of that, we need to stand up and say, enough is enough. I'll share these articles in the show notes, y'all. Like I said, we are all we have. We have to keep informing each other, keep educating each other, and helping each other. We have to do that. We have to help one another. I love you all. I pray that we find ways to mitigate this craziness that we're dealing with. Keep raising your voices, keep getting out there and just doing all you can to resist this nonsense because this is exactly what it is, sheer nonsense. Like I said, I'll share the articles in the show notes. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Eat Me podcast. I will see y'all next week. Bye.